It's always Friday at TGI Fridays on Veterans, right by Causeway. And that's the home of great food, delicious hamburgers, and super duper steaks with, you bet, including salads with real egg, as our director, Andrew Alvarez, likes to say. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Prep Recruiting Insider. I'm Ken Berthelot, along with our high school and recruiting guru, Renee Nadeau, and our special guest, Tommy Chrysan, the general manager of Pelican Sports Television and the host of Tigers Roar, which is seen on WHNO TV 20 Sports every Friday from 5 to 7 p.m. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us. And we've got the makings of a good show today because we're talking high school playoffs. And Renee, this is one of your favorite times of the year because you know the cream of the crop steps up and really shows everybody what they've got.
And you know, we got some great players on this show from East Jefferson. So we got some great players, some juniors who are being recruited for the 2014 class. We'll talk about the brackets, some guys who snuck in, and maybe some teams that will be there when the smoke clears in the Superdome.
Tommy Chrysan, you follow high school recruiting and high school playoffs very, very closely. You also are a super guru about LSU. You know everything going on there. So I know LSU likes a lot of what they're seeing in New Orleans with some of the kids performing in these playoffs and around the state of Louisiana.
There's no question about it. Just like you guys, the high school playoffs, one of our favorite times of the year. We know what's going to happen, but we don't know what's going to happen. We know we're going to have some lower seeds win. We're going to have some upsets. Some of the mainstays are going to keep winning, but it still provides unbelievable excitement across this entire state each and every weekend.
Let's take a look at the brackets because we are going into the quarterfinals. And gentlemen, let's see who are the surprises here and who are not. It's not a surprise that Rummel's there, the only undefeated 5A team in the state.
You know, Rummel is a team I guess you thought would be there. They playing on both sides of the ball very well, and Tommy, as you know, they play well in defense as well. Catholic Baton Rouge, that's going to be an interesting matchup against Mandeville. West Monroe, everybody anointed them to be in the dome. It's been a tough road for them, and Parkway and Barb. That's going to be a great matchup.
Any surprises, Tommy?
Well, Catholic High is a little better than people thought they were back in August, but they got two running backs that can go. Coach Dale Weiner's been there for a long, long time, and he's got the experience. He knows what it's like to be in a playoff game. And that matchup with Mandeville over in Mandeville is going to be a really good one.
In 4A, Neville, Vanderbilt Catholic, McDonough 35. Everybody thought maybe they would struggle this year. They didn't come in with an impressive record, but guess what? After upsetting East Jeff, they're on a roll now. And LaGrange, how about those Holy Cross Tigers and St. Aug? St. Aug, Ed McCarr might be a state championship style game in itself.
It's a shame they're meeting in that game because, you know, last time they met, it was a 2-point differential there. Holy Cross, they are playing very, very well offensively. And in McDonough 35, Wayne Reese, what a great job he has done. Now with John Doris and Vanderbilt Catholic, they are talented both sides of the ball.
Now, every time you get to the quarterfinal round, it becomes tough because, you know, some teams get a good draw in that first round of seedings and all that. Second round, I don't know, but when you get to the third round, you know, regardless of their seed, they're playing their best football of the year. And that's what you get this weekend, which makes this weekend as exciting. It's just unbelievable.
And of course, McDonough 35 knocking off fifth seeded Solomon by the score of 22-6. That was a convincing win.
Yeah, Salmon just had a bad night, but you give credit to McDonough 35.
Let's take a look at 3A, and Parkview Baptist is in there along with Livonia and Jennings. Farmerville, East Feliciana, and Iowa will take on Notre Dame, who knocked out Jesuit.
Parkview continues to roll under Coach Kenny Guillot. It's a solid program and has been for a long time. Livonia's an interesting story with Coach David Brewerton, who had been around as an assistant for a long time. They've got a lot of players on that Livonia team. They got guys that are going to play on Saturdays, and you know Notre Dame's always tough, and everybody's thinking it's a Notre Dame Parkview Baptist thing in the dome, but those other folks are going to have something to say about that.
And I said Notre Dame knocked out Jesuit. I meant Notre Dame knocked out St. Charles Catholic in there, and that boy, I tell you what, that was a big win for them.
Yeah, it was. They were ahead, and St. Charles came back, but then Notre Dame got the win.
Let's move on to Class 2A, and I think the question here is, can anybody beat that team that is seeded number 1 at the top?
It's going to be tough. Manny is a team that surprised a lot of people where they are. Southern Lab, a University Lab, really a very talented group. And Carver is a team with a lot of weapons on offense. Evangel's going to have the hands full.
Tommy, Manny upset Winfield, and a lot of people thought Winfield might be one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the state. How good is Manny?
Well, I don't know a lot about Manny, 21 seed, but obviously they're playing their best football right now. And I can tell you, the U-High team in Baton Rouge has got a bunch of talented players. They got lots of guys that'll play on Saturdays, and Coach Mahaffey there has done a solid job.
Looking at it, can anybody beat John Curtis?
I mean, you'd have to think Evangel or U-High or Springfield, who, that's the chalk, 1, 2, 3, 4. If they get in there with Curtis, it would take a great effort and maybe not Curtis's best effort. Anything can happen. That's why you line up and play. We all know that.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's the cliche, but rightly said in this match because there have been some stunning upsets so far in the playoffs up to here. And in 1A, take a look at 1A. There's Washita Christian and Southern Lab. Tommy, I know you followed Southern Lab a lot. Kentwood, we talked all year, Renee, about this might be their year to make it to the Dome, and there you see the rest of the teams.
The Roos are going to play well. West St. John is a team that started slow, but their schedule.
A
tough schedule. They had a lot to do with that.
And Coach Valdez is solid.
Yeah, and Haynesville, Tommy, as you know. But Southern Lab, you're very familiar with them.
Well, Southern Lab, I think 8 guys that go 2 ways on the field, which is common in the 1A level. You put your best athletes out there. You can't count Southern Lab out, even though they're going against the 1 seed, Washita Christian. Lab will show up, and the kittens will be ready.
Well, in just a minute, we're going to have East Jeff coach Nick Salterformaggio on, a guy you played football with at Holy Cross, a very good friend of yours. Tell us about Nick.
Well, Nick was actually a wrestler, and I didn't play football, but Nick and I went, we were great friends in high school. We did all the double dating things at the junior prom and the senior prom, and his family and my family were very, very close, and it was great to see Nick today.
Well, he'll be on, and you'll be back with us in just a little while to talk more about some of the high school players, and you'll be with us for our legend segment, because we've got a great legend for you, the Hall of Fame former Covington High School coach, Jack Salter. That'll be coming up in just a little while. We'll take a break and be back with East Jefferson coaches and players right after this on the Prep Recruiting Insider. We are at TGI Fridays on Veterans Boulevard here in Metairie, where it's always Friday and the food is always fabulous. TGI Fridays for the Prep Recruiting Insider. And Renee Nadeau and my guest on this show, it's East Jefferson Day. And we've got East Jeff quarterback, junior quarterback Eugene Wells, and East Jeff coach Nick Salterformaggio. And Nick, first of all, let me start with you. Congratulations. You have returned East Jefferson to some of the glory days that I remember back in the 60s and 70s when the Warriors were a powerhouse. You're in your 5th year, and what a job this year that you've done. Congratulations to you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having us on the show today. I just wish we were practicing this morning. But
well, I know it was a heartbreaking loss to a McDonough 35 team, but you know what? McDonough 35 has now won 2 playoff games. They're in the quarterfinals. They're probably at the peak of their game right now, and a lot stronger team than a lot of people have given them credit for.
Yeah, those guys go out and play a tough early season schedule, and it's like Coach Reese said, they get ready for the state playoffs, and we kind of caught lightning in a bottle with Carlos Henderson getting healthy and getting well, and a lot of people are having trouble with him right now. I know, Salmon last week struggled to contain him as well, and Coach Leonard does a great job over there. So it was a rough exit, but we had a great year, and our program's doing well, and fortunately, we're a junior-dominated football team, so we're looking forward to the future.
You bet.
Well, Salt, one reason you've had so much success is this guy sitting to my left who runs this flex bone you got, Eugene Wells, junior quarterback Eugene Wells. And Eugene, you've got so many skills, a point guard in basketball, averaging over all district, averaging over 15 points a game, and you run that offense so expertly. Got 4.43 speed. How does this offense fit your skills?
It fits my skills very well. It's like I'm a scrambling quarterback. I'm not a drop back passer. So you make reads. I'm a quick person on my feet. Just make good reads. Do what I do.
Now you're getting some letters and some contacts from colleges right now. Talk about some of the schools that have contacted you, and what kind of school are you looking for after next year to continue your college education?
I love to attend Georgia Tech. It fits me. They run the similar offense to what we run. But I go to in-state colleges, ULL, ULM. certain colleges like that, Louisiana Tech.
So they've all contacted you. They've been watching you right now.
Yes, sir.
That kind of thing. Now, if quarterback is not the position you play, you may play a cornerback or a slot, and do you have a preference there?
No, sir. I'll play either one. And,
One thing of Rene is I think people are looking at him as quarterback too is his speed.
Oh my goodness.
He's got some 4.4 speed, right?
Yes, sir.
Wow. And
18 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards
That's
rushing.
it.
And I've seen you play, and I tell you what, this young man has unbelievable open field running skills, and he's got that extra gear and salt. I don't know if you've coached him up, but buddy, he's got to be one of the special players you've had a chance to coach in your 31 years.
Absolutely. Even in the playoff game, Rene, we were down by a score. It was funny. We went up and then got down by 2 scores on a turnover and a kickoff return. So we go down and we make it a one touchdown game, and they kicked the ball off to Eugene. And it was one of the smart coaching moves I probably made. I let my starting quarterback return kickoffs, but he went 97 yards and outran everybody that McDonald 35 had running at him. So he is very, very fast with the football in his hands. But the thing that makes him go is he has a command of our football team. You know, in the locker room, on the practice field. He's an excellent student in the classroom. He has a conscientious dad who really follows him to make sure he continues on the right path academically. So he was important for us to change our program. And when he was at middle school with Coach Berthelot and T.H. Harris, they dominated across the board in every sport. And I knew when I got the job at East Jefferson, I needed to get him to come to us because there were some other schools that were offering the same amount of money to go play for them that we were offering to come play for us, if you know what I mean. And so it was a good get for us.
Well, you dominate, Eugene, again in basketball and in football. Which do you like best, and which would you rather play in college, and why?
I'd rather play football, but if it's possible to play both, I play both. I love sports. I've been loving sports since I was young, so I just play both.
What, Eugene, tell us, what did that win against St. Aug do for the program and do for this team this year?
It was a great victory. We needed a signature win like that at our school. We haven't had a good win since who knows when. We needed that win just a step forward in our program.
You know, Salt, you go back a long time and 31 years in coaching, 5 years at East Jefferson, but you've coached a guy that people around this area would be very familiar with, Zach Mettenberger.
Yeah, I was, I guess, fortunate. I was a head coach at Chalmette. Katrina hit, and I landed in Georgia. My brother's a high school official in Georgia, and he told me the job was coming open. I didn't know anything about it, and I was fortunate enough in an interview process to go through a couple of interviews and land the job. And Zach was there coming in as a 9th grader. We actually had to keep him out of Gainesville High School, which is a big AAA power in North Georgia. But you could see what kind of talent he had early on. And I was fortunate to coach him his freshman, sophomore, and junior years. And he's a different player than Eugene. You know, he's more of a drop back, throw the ball down the field kind of guy. I remember we were playing, we had to beat Elbert High School in Elberton, Georgia in the Granite Bowl, which is a great high school venue. And Zach threw a long ball down the field to a kid named Scotty Woodall, who caught it in the end zone, sliding into a granite wall. And you just could see at that moment that kid had the ability to make great plays. And it was a joy. It's a joy to watch him now. I'm a big LSU fan, and I'm glad he wound up there. It was a different road to get there, but I'm glad he wound up there.
Salt, in the final minute that we have in this segment, both you and Tommy Chrysan played for Coach John Kalbacher at Holy Cross in the late 70s. What did you take from Kalbacher that's helped make you the coach you are today?
Well, he was the most organized person I've ever seen in my life. And you know, he was one of the original tough guys, but he was very compassionate as well. I don't think people realize, you know, he nursed his wife through cancer all the way until her passing. But he could leave that and come out on the football field and be completely organized and completely disciplined and stay true to who he was. And he coached football that way. And you know, he's a guy that I'm glad to say that I got to know not only as a player but as a student at a great high school. And you know, it just brings back very fond memories when I think of him. And I still pass by the old building at 4950 Dauphine Street, and it'll always have great memories for me. I wish we would have beat them the last week of the season. You know, they came back and beat us for the district championship, but You know, you can see that kind of program with Coach Wilson as well. He follows a lot of the same philosophies Coach Callback did.
Well, thank you very much, Coach Nick Sottoformaggio and Eugene Wells, for being our guest on this segment of the show. And Renee will be back with 3 more East Jefferson players right after this on the Prep Recruiting Insider from TGI Fridays on Veterans right here in Metairie.
Welcome back to the Prep Recruiting Insider. We're here at TGI Fridays on Veterans between Severn and Causeway. And we got a show today with the East Jefferson Warriors. And today with us are 3 juniors who are very prominent figures in the success of the Warriors for 2012. To my left is Ronald Green, who is a fullback. They had 1,200 yards and 21 touchdowns in that flex bone. To his left is Hakeem Poche, the middle linebacker, who had 115 stops for that defense. To his left is Edgar Jackson, the same linebacker, who had 113 stops, just a couple of tackles behind. What a great defense they had, what a great offense. Guys, thanks for being with us. Ronald, I'm going to start with you. Every play, basically, Eugene is going to fake to you. You're going to get hit somewhere in that flex bone. You play fullback, 1,200 yards. You had a great season this year. How does this offense fit your skills?
This fit my field like with contact. I love contact. So basically, when I get the ball, it's just up to the O-line to do their blocking skills, and I just get my yards that I can get. Once I see the end zone, that's touchdown all day.
Now you got 4.4 speed, which is rare for a guy who's going to take hits, and you going basically in the A or B gap for the most part. What are some of the schools that have contacted you about maybe playing in college in 2014?
ULL, Georgia Tech, ULM. Basically, that's really it, though.
Is there when you look at a school, what are you looking for? A school that maybe fits the same type of program that you have now, I mean, the same type of offense? So what kind of offense would you like to play in?
I formation and strong. I just like to run downhill, read the blocks and just go as far as I can go. That's all I can.
Now, how is your blocking? How is your receiving skills?
Blocking, I need to work on that, but receiving skills, any ball come my way is a catch. So that's good with me.
Hakeem Poche, you played middle linebacker, 115 stops, all district. All these guys were all district this year. How does this defense, y'all had a stifling defense, had a great game, had some great games this year. Describe the defense, the responsibilities of the linebackers and the defense.
Well, really, the linebackers really take over the team, and we really have a great defense. With Coach Salt as our linebacker coach and everything, things are really good for us. And next year, things should be really even better next year.
All juniors coming back, a lot of the prominent players are juniors. It's got to make you feel good that this team is basically going to be intact in 2013.
Yes, sir. It really is. But we just ready to play.
Now, how are you? I'm going to ask Edgar the same question. But as a linebacker, you do face some passing teams. How is your drops? Do you feel comfortable in a passing defense?
I can get there, but I don't like it. I don't like pass drops.
You're a guy that likes to play the A gap, B gap, and down.
B gap.
You like to just
down,
bring it, right?
Bring it.
Okay.
Bring the hat.
Do you have a favorite player as a linebacker?
Lance Briggs.
Really? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Edgar, you're a guy that 113 tackles. You play that same linebacker. You have that cerebral approach to this game. But you're a guy in the weight room, man. You got a 440 squat, a 300-pound bench press. So you got the physical skills. What do you feel like? Describe your game. What do you feel like is your strengths as a linebacker?
My strength as a linebacker is stopping the run and pass rushing. I have a nice pass rushing ability, and that's what I prefer to do: stop the run and pass rush.
Now you have the ability to kind of check off, and you basically call. I think you had a lot of tackles for loss. You had 10 sacks and 9 tackles for loss. And Coach Salt told me that you have the freedom to check off certain things, and if you want to call a blitz, you have the skills to do that.
Yes.
Got to make you feel good that he trusts you that much in his defense that you can check off and call a blitz and that type of thing. It's got to make you feel good.
Makes me feel real good. I like the fact that Coach Saul gives me the ability to change up, give the offense different schemes to look at.
Now, do you have a favorite player?
Von Miller.
Okay.
Von Miller.
Okay. Do you from the Denver Broncos? You've been hearing from some schools. Y'all have another year to go. What's some of the schools that have sent you some correspondence that may be keeping an eye on you right now?
ULM, ULL, Mississippi State sent me a package. Nichols, mostly in-state schools.
Now, when you get information like that, if you start looking at a school, how they play defense and things like that, if it fits your skills, or how does that work for you as a recruit?
First, I'm looking at the school aspect of it. And then the defense, I feel like I can fit in any type of defensive scheme that's run, because I'm versatile to fit in any type of scheme that's there. So I'm looking at how the school, what the academic aspect of the school, then I'm worrying about the football team. Academics come first.
I'm sorry, Hakeem, same question for you. When you get correspondence from the school, what are you looking for in a school? Is there a type of defense? Would it have to be a 4-3-3-4?
I can really play anything because I'm a middle linebacker. I make everything happen. But like, I can really play anything, but I really prefer like a 4-3. I love the 4-3 type of defense. But yeah, 4-3.
Now you play a linebacker. Do you feel like you have the ability to maybe play like a monster back, a kind of strong safety linebacker?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think I can get back there and do a little bit of running.
You know, you guys really brought a lot back to East Jefferson this year. It hadn't been won a playoff game in so long, and you're right at the cusp there right now. It's got to make you feel good that people are coming back to games again. And Hakeem, it's got to make you feel good that the alumni have supported you guys.
It feels really good to know that the people that graduated many years ago are coming back to support us and everything. It feels really good. We really like that. We really ask for everybody to come support us. We need as much as we can get for us to make another playoff run next year.
Now, Ronald, I've talked to you and Eugene. Can you talk a little bit about the offensive linemen and the guys that make your job a little bit better, and some of the receivers in this offense and how they've made your job a little bit better?
By getting their techniques down, blocking, you got to just read what they got to do and get where you got to go. And the O-line is a big part of our line because, you know, it's really like down blocks, zone blocks, so you got to really read off the line and the defense and see what they're doing so you can just find a hole.
Now, your instincts, I mean, you're just not a downhill guy. You have to have some instincts, know where hole's going to be when they block it in a zone scheme blocking. So your instincts and your ability to read a hole has to be good, has to be sharp.
Oh yeah, like when we run plays, my action kid's like basically the nose guard. So wherever he go, I just read off him. So basically, if he come down, I go down the opposite way. So it's like, you know, it's real simple. It's real simple.
Now, in the last 30 seconds we have, guys, are you going to wait till the last minute to decide what your choices for colleges? Are you going to make all your visits, or would you like to make this decision and get it out the way?
I'm going to wait to see what I can get first, and then after that, just make my decision.
Now, you have any visits coming up this coming summer?
Hopefully I do. I don't know yet, but hopefully.
Okay. Well, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for being here. Congratulations. We'll be back right here at TGI Fridays for more Prep Insider right after this.
Back at TGI Fridays, Ken Berthelot, along with Renee Nato, and our guest for this segment, Tommy Krysan, the host of Tigers Roar, seen right here on WHNO TV 20 every Friday from 5 to 7. It is time for our Max Home New Bath Player and Coach of the Week. So let's go right to our Player of the Week. No surprise here. He is Sadog's Leonard Fournette. And Sadog is led by this junior running back all year. He's been led by him all year. He's 6'1", 230 pounds. He pounded, the whole Purple Knight team pounded St. Thomas More 40-14. But man, Leonard Fournette rushed for 354 yards. He averaged 12.6 yards per carry. He had 3 scores. And now the Purple Knights will face Edna Carr on Friday at Berman Stadium. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but Leonard Fournette, only a junior. My goodness, what more can this young man do?
Well, you know, I know a lot of good running backs that can't get 354 yards in 3 weeks, okay? Much less 1 week in the playoffs. I mean, that's phenomenal. And look, obviously I do a lot of radio and TV in Baton Rouge, and believe me, everybody up there knows about Leonard Fournette. He's playing for Coach Crutchfield, a dear friend of mine, and you know, it's great to see the excitement he's generating for all of New Orleans football and for St. Aug. And people, I've got a feeling a lot of people will be saying his name a whole lot in the coming years.
And let's go to the Coach of the Week then, and then we'll talk about a little bit more of the Player of the Week. And our Coach of the Week is Riverside's Billy Stubbs. Now Billy Stubbs and his Riverside Academy, a number 25 seed in 2A, upset the 8th-seeded Episcopal team 28-22, and they did it in the final 20 seconds of the game. The Rebels trailed by 15 points in the third quarter before scoring 21 unanswered. Freshman quarterback Deuce Wallace threw for 281 yards and 3 touchdowns. Freshman wide receiver Herb McGee caught 9 for 157 yards and a pair of scores. The final grab was that 20-yard game winner. And Billy Stubbs, boy, we did a game with them earlier this year, Renee, and he said this team can come around, but who would have thought they would have come around this quickly and this much?
And the thing is, Tommy, this team, Riverside team, is nothing but freshmen. They are going to be really good.
Yes.
And now that Curtis has moved up to 3A, Riverside's going to be a force in 2A.
Wild Bill, as I call him. I've known Bill Stubbs for a long time. I've known his whole family, and I remember all the success he had at Salmon over there in St. Tammany Parish. And I'm so glad he's back to coaching, because he can do this for these kids at Riverside Academy, and he's going to teach them a lot about life and football. I've always been a fan of Bill Stubbs', and I'm glad he's being honored by you guys.
Being on a show with Renee Nato and Tommy Krysan is like watching a battle of who's got the best one-liner, who's going to one-line up on the other two guys, and this is really a lot of fun. Max Home New Bath, that is our sponsor for the Player and Coach of the Week. Normally, Frank Amos, Marketing Director, is with us. He'll be back next week, but he wants me to remind you that, remember, there's a lot of new products with Max Home New Bath that you can find at Home Depot. And also, there's the fabulous baths that they have that you see advertised on WHNO TV Channel 20 all the time. Now we ask you to please go to the website, because you can register at Max Home and New Bath for a $25,000 makeover. And that is very special. All the information on how to register and how to win is available at www.newbathnow.com. And my goodness, you can either get the New Bath makeover, or you can just take the personal makeover to look more like Renee Nato, the sportscaster. And I might have to opt for the second one, but he'll chuckle a little bit on that one. Max Home New Bath, visit them online, and good luck. We hope you are the winner of the $25,000 makeover, courtesy of our good friends at Max Home and New Bath. We'll take a break, and when we come back, it's our Legend segment. Tommy Krysan used to coach for this man. So did St. Aug coach Cyril Crutchfield. They're both here. We'll talk with Jack Salter, the legendary former coach of Covington High School. All of that when we come back on the Prep Recruiting Insider here from TGI Fridays, Veterans in Metairie. TGI Fridays, where it's always Friday and the food is always great. This is the Prep Recruiting Insider, Ken Berthelot, along with Renee Nato. And on our Legend segment, we welcome the legendary retired coach from Covington High School, Jack Salter, who joins one of his former coaches, his son-in-law, and our guest on this show, Tommy Krysan. And Jack Salter, congratulations. What a fantastic career. 256 wins over 33 years. My goodness, when you think about it, do you take a deep breath and just go, wow?
Well, thank you very much. But, you know, to get anywhere, we all need a lot of help from other people. So I had a coaching staff that basically was with me for 30 years or 35 as they came in, you know. So, hey, we had a lot of fun doing it, and it was exciting. I was at a very good school, Covington High, and we had a lot of good players that came out to us.
Tommy, you probably know this story well, but when Jack was an assistant coach, he found out by reading the newspaper that the head coach and all the assistants were going to be let go. and he went in and was told, you can continue to coach basketball, but Jack Salter said, I was born to be a football coach. And sure enough, a football coach.
That's exactly right. That's
You are.
That's the way it went. That's right.
And that's when you joined Covington. In the first 2 years, you were building a program, but after that, nobody could stop you.
Well, we did well, but it was great to get to Covington High. I mean, you know, but in fact, St. Paul's probably did me a favor by firing me and letting me get there, because maybe all of this wouldn't have turned out the same way. So, but it really turned out well over there.
You know, you've influenced so many people, and our next guest is a guy who's off the Jack Salter tree of coaches. But who are some of the coaches that influenced you to be the type of coach that you were?
Well, that was back in the day. I remember going to a clinic at Tulane, and they had some coaches, high school coaches, the Brown brothers from Sherma High School, and some other ones, and then college coaches, you know, Bud Wilkerson. I really liked him a lot and everything. And I told everybody, my wife and them, I said, I saw all these people over there. They were much older than I was, and I don't ever think I'll be coaching at this many years like they're doing. And lo and behold, you know, I'm like every other coach. I was in love with coaching, and that was good. Also my family, but everything worked out.
You know, Coach, every successful coach has an opportunity to move on. How many chances did you have to move to another school, move to the college level, and did you give it much consideration?
Well, I tell you what, I had one school that had mentioned maybe they might be interested in me, you know, but it turned out that they weren't, and it was a Division II school. But I had a call from a school in San Antonio, Texas, and the person on the other end said he was the principal of a high school, I forget the name of the school he had, and the athletic director, and that he was following my career, and he wanted to know if he could fly my wife and I over there along with some other people that he's interviewing, you know, and went on to tell me everything that they got, the amount of money they received was much more. Everything was much more, you know, no teaching, you get to select your own coaches, you have an automobile, and so forth and so on. So I talked to my 6 children, and they all said that they wasn't going anywhere but Covington. So, and I felt the same way. You know, Covington was, I reached my goals there, so I wanted to stay there.
Tommy Chrysan, Jack Salter is often described as a very tough disciplinarian, but also a man and a coach who guided his players with a loving hand. You were an assistant on that staff. Explain how that really worked in helping him be the successful coach and the winning coach he was.
Well, he cared about people, and that's where it starts. And he, you know, I learned from him how to care about people, because if the people you're coaching know that you care about them, they'll run through the wall from you. And I had a first-hand look at the thousands of people that he impacted, not just wearing a Covington High uniform, but the fans of Covington High, the business people in the community. They all followed his lead into building a successful program, which went forward with making these people successful in life. That was a good lesson for me as a young guy in the coaching world, and I got out of coaching shortly after that, but I took many of those characteristics with me into the radio and television business.
And you saw some of the fiery Jack Salter right there on the screen.
Well, I've seen a little fiery Jack Salter a few times. One halftime at Baker, he doesn't want me to talk about it, but it was rather fiery, but they scored with the opening possession of the third quarter, I can promise you.
Let's talk about the 1976 state championship
No,
game,
that was a great
the
ride,
big win.
I'll tell you what, that was a great ride. You know, we were, of course, the year before in '75, we won unbeaten also, and then when we got and played a great St. Aug team, who was very good, and we give all the credit to them for playing so well, but then we came back and actually at the St. Aug game, a newspaper reporter was in there and he was interviewing me. I can't remember who it was, but anyway, so he said, this was after the game. He said, so what do you think about next year? I said, well, we'll have to wait and see. Once we come back from Percy Quinn, that's when we know how we're gonna be. And one of my defensive backs, a kid by the name of Kevin Myers, said, we're gonna be back next year and we're gonna win a state championship. Of course, you know, nobody thought that would ever come true, but it did.
And we'll take a look at that state championship win. You probably remember this play, which was one of the scores for the Lions right here.
Yep, that's Darryl Graham, our quarterback, that threw the pass.
Darryl Graham threw it, and what a fantastic win. Brings home the state championship trophy, one of the biggest wins in your 256
Oh, it
victories.
sure was, I can tell you. Well, I wish we'd have done a little better than the other three we got into.
You know, one game that
Didn't work
stands out in this area, Coach, is the 1987 game against St. Augustine. Stephen Smith was your quarterback.
Right.
And was Vincent Alexandra? He wasn't.
No, he played in 81 when we played
but
John
Stephen
Eric.
Smith, and I remember St. Augustine was loaded with talent. It was a big game. What do you recall about that night?
Oh, that was a great day. Everybody started, our fans started lining up on the home side at about 8 o'clock in the morning to get in, even though, you know, we have a lot of seating there. We didn't have enough that night. But anyway, and St. Aug got there about 11 o'clock in the morning, and they started lining up to get in also. And it was just a great high school football game. And we, you know, we thought all along that we could hang with them, no matter how good they were. But and it turned out that way. That I mean, you know, we did some good things and they did some good things, but I guess we did more good things than they did.
Well, it's always about the wins, yes, but it's more so about the people. And many of the people that you influenced went on to be very successful men and very successful coaches. One is going to join us in just a moment.
Well,
he's the very successful coach at St. Aug High School, Cyril Crutchfield, who played for you in the early 1980s.
He was a great player, that's for sure. He was a great player when he got to college.
Well, hold tight with that thought, because we're going to take a break. And when we come back, Coach Cyril Crutchfield of the St. Aug Purple Knights, a star for Jack Salter at Covington High School, will join us on the Prep Recruiting Insider from TGI Fridays here on Veterans in Metairie. Welcome back to the Prep Recruiting Insider. We are at TGI Fridays here on Veterans in Metairie. Kim Berthelot, Renee Nadeau, the legendary Coach Jack Salter, and one of the players who played for him from 1981 through 1984 at Covington High, went on to a successful career in coaching and now has the St. Aug Purple Knights in the quarterfinals of the state playoffs. Coach Cyril Crutchfield. Coach, thank you for taking the time to join us with your old coach on the Prep Recruiting Insider.
Oh, I had to be here. I actually pushed back practice so I could be here.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Great.
What did Jack Salter mean to you as a player at Covington High, and what did you learn from him?
He meant everything, you know, and actually we talked about it, my coaching staff, about 2 weeks ago. And I remember being a little boy, and everybody in Covington, they only had one thing they wanted to do in life. Every young boy, that was to grow up and play for Coach Jack Salter in the Covington Lions.
Wow.
And he meant everything. He was an icon. He was a father figure. You know, he truly was a person that we looked up to and respected until this day. You know, so I'm just thrilled to death to be here on side of it.
You know, Cyril, you're in the quarterfinals, and the apple don't fall far from the tree. You know, you had been in those quarterfinal and those semifinal matches with Coach Salter. You're facing a tough opponent this coming week. You know, how does he influence when you coach the season? When you get into the playoffs, it's a whole different deal.
Well, he was so disciplined and structured, and he always kept our attention. It was focus-oriented, and I remember we would start practice. It was a routine and procedure. We always start the same play in practice.
Yeah,
you know, and we used to run that 20 trap. You know, so
That was it.
yeah. So you know, I've learned that, and you know, when you start to do those routines and procedures on a daily basis, when they get in the game, when they get in this, you know, when it's all hyped up and you have fans and chaos, you just fall back to what you know, your routines and procedures, and that's what he taught me.
Jack Salter, when you see one of your former players not only go on to be a success in life, but be a very successful, winning high school coach, what kind of pride do you take in what Cyril Crutchfield and other players like him have done for high school and college ball?
I'm very proud of him because he was one fine person and one fine football player at Covington High. You know, he helped us lead us to a lot of victory, and you know, and he worked so hard. He was always working towards getting himself better, and he came from a great family. And in fact, he had so many sisters. How many sisters?
Oh, 4 sisters, the only boy.
That's right. But anyway, they never missed a game either. But Cyril just knew, you know, he had his goals set to what he wanted to be, and to be a college, to play in college, and he went on to Northeast and made All-American. I can remember when they were playing for the national championship up in
Pocatello, Idaho.
In Idaho. And he had called
87 years, same year.
Yeah, same year. And he called me and said that, he said, now he called me 2 or 3 days before and said, don't forget now, we're going to be on television, it's going to be late, don't go to sleep because you're not going to get it till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So then he called me the day of the game and reminded me of that again, so I made sure I was awake. So I watched the whole game, watched him play, was happy for him and his team that they were able to win a national championship, and he had a lot to do with the win. So.
You know, I tease Cyril all the time, and I was teasing him earlier about, you know, people say that St. Augustine, for example, has great players. You've had great players too, but you got to coach those guys. And just because you throw a bunch of really good players on the field doesn't make you a winning team. How tough is it when you do have good players that you have to tell these guys their role and keep them in line? How tough is it when the teams you have?
Oh, it wasn't. I mean, you know, we try to settle all those issues when we first meet with them during the early meetings during the fall. You know, and hey, they know what they have to do, what we want to accomplish, and we won't settle for anything less than all they have. So as far as I'm concerned, and Cyril's probably into that more than I am. But we had some great kids because they just stepped in line, and we had very few problems that we had to throw one off the team, I can tell you. I did.
Cyril, when you were a player for Jack Salter, was there any time within those 3 years as a high school player that you said, this is it, I know I want to be a coach. If I'm not going to take my playing career any further, I know I want to be a coach because of what I'm seeing and experiencing right now?
Actually, no, but when I can look back now, it was just setting it up, and I just had to go through some other things before I, you know, found my calling. But I reflect back on it now, and it was a great experience, and he taught me a lot, even though I wasn't looking at it in the mindset of a coach, but as a player. But the same principles that he instilled in us, I still do the same thing to this day, and it's a different generation now, you know. So I heard you ask him earlier about, you know, so kids are a little different, you know, but I still apply those same principles.
We can't let you get away. We have a couple minutes left, Cyril, but, you know, I'm coming from Texas over the weekend, and I'm coming through Alexandria and Monroe and stuff, and people say, you got a good game this weekend, St. Aug and Carr. And the thing is that this is going to be one of the best, this might be the best game of the week in all classifications. You guys have played before. How tough is it to play them again? And the quarterfinals, it's got to be it's going to be a tough game for you guys, and for them, it's going to, you know, the winner moves on to the state title.
Yeah, well, you know, this is what you're here for, you know. So you just got to be ready, and we'll be ready. I know they'll be ready too, you know. As far as the difficulty of meeting them twice, you know, I don't buy into that because, you know, everything is different now. You know, the one thing I know is that we played them 13 weeks ago. I know we have gotten better, you know, and I'm sure they have gotten better as well. So it's going to be a heck of a matchup. Our kids are excited. You know, I'm really not focused on anything else about our kids.
That's it.
And everything will take care of itself.
You know, you've got the Carr game. You get by that game, you've got the Holy Cross game, and if the Holy Cross wins that game, that would be like another state championship game. Then you'd have the state championship game. So your bracket is almost like 3 state championship games to bring home the title. Goodness gracious. That, your comments on that, and then Jack, based on that, after Coach Cyril comments, what advice would you give him with 3 big games like that?
Well, first, I like to say that, you know, actually that's how we look at it.
Yes.
Each game is a state championship because if you don't win, you're done. But more importantly, I tell our kids, we take one game at a time. Because when you start looking to see who that next opponent is going to be, you're actually watching that opponent and the team that you're playing that night playing against each other. So you just take them one game at a time.
And that sounds like something you might have learned from the coach.
Definitely.
Oh, I think, yeah.
Any advice for him
most
in the final
coaches,
minute?
you know, I'm not saying they all do that, but the majority of them do that because everything he said is exactly what I probably said the same thing. You know, that I tell them that really at the beginning of the season, I said, no matter who we play first, I said it's the start of a state championship run. Now, if you want it, we'll get it. If
But
not,
you got to do it one
but
game
you got
at
to
a
do
time.
it one at a time, just like he said.
Great. Cyril Crutchfield, thank you very, very much for taking your time moving practice back and being a guest with the guy who coached you from 81 to 84 at Covington High School, Coach Jack Salter, a legend, 256 wins. Fantastic career. Thank you for joining us on the legendary segment of the Prep Recruiting Insider.
I appreciate being invited to it. Both you gentlemen, y'all put on a very good show here. I enjoyed it. And to Cyril, I want to wish him the best of everything in this football game, and also congratulate you for all your past success at the other schools you were at.
All right, best
you might
of luck.
not have enough room for a trophy case.
Best of luck, Cyril. That's going to wrap up this segment. We'll be back to wrap up this edition of the Prep Recruiting Insider right after this from TGI Fridays on Veterans here in Metairie. TGI Fridays, where it's always Friday, 3330 Veterans Boulevard here in Metairie. Our gracious host of the Prep Recruiting Insider. We thank the entire staff of TGI Fridays for all they do when we are here enjoying Friday on any day of the week. And don't forget, register at Max Home New Bath, one of our fine sponsors and the sponsor of our Coach of the Week and Player of the Week. Register to win the $25,000 home makeover. All the information is on their website, www.newbathnow.com. And good luck. Hope you win the makeover from Max Home New Bath. Frank Amos, Marketing Director, will be back with us next week. Want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, Renee. I hope
You
have
as
a
well,
great,
and all our viewers.
all of our viewers, and we want to thank everybody for being our viewer and our guest on the Prep Recruiting Insider. So for our entire show, Adam, Andrew, our entire staff in the truck and on the cameras, for Renee Nadeau, I'm Ken Berthelot. Thank you all for being with us. Have a safe and a happy and a blessed Thanksgiving holiday. We'll see you next week with another edition of the Prep Recruiting Insider on WHNO TV 20 Sports.